I'm Alex,
I'm Paul.
and in 2023, we launched our aerial production company, Back Left Media.
Can we climb right here?
Yep, climb up.
Yep, just a little bit up.
Oh, this is great. This is the shot. If you can sit right here, this is going to be perfect. This is great. Yep. Wow. Oh my God. That's amazing. Yo, that was crazy. Wow, incredible shot. All right, push in a little bit closer and drop another 100 feet. Wow, this is great.
This last year has been a year of growth and a lot of lessons learned, so we wanted to take a look back at 5 of those moments here today. So back in last June, we had a job in Jersey City for a church there, and it required us to hit a lot of different spots in a short amount of time, but that's perfect for what we do in a helicopter.
Yeah, I mean, in an hour's time, we were able to hit 3 or 4 spots that really weren't even on our shot list just because of the unique conditions that we had, get our shots, and then do one more loop around the Statue of Liberty before the hour was up. So it was a perfect job for us.
Yeah, I mean, we started over in Linden, and in under an hour, we hit Statue of Liberty, downtown, midtown. We were all over the place.
George Washington Bridge.
Yeah, George Washington Bridge. So, I mean, that's probably at least 3 hours if you just were to drive it, not even accounting for shooting time.
Yeah, it's like 75 miles, and driving in New York and New Jersey traffic, it could take more than 2.5 hours just to get from place to place.
And not to mention, too, your light is changing then throughout the day. And that's one of my favorite parts about working this way is everything matches. And it's great for the edit. It's great for the story.
Yeah. So instead of having to be on site for 2 or 3 days, we can do it all within an hour and get relatively similar light all throughout so that the storytelling aspect there's continuity.
Yeah, I think along those same lines, a big thing that people see is, it's helicopters, it's going to be so expensive. And yeah, it's not nothing, but when you start to do the math like that, like you're saying, instead of a 3-day shoot, getting up for sunrise every morning to get all of that, it almost in some regards ends up being a little cheaper because we're able to do it all so quickly.
Yeah, less time on the ground, less day rates, less ins and outs with bureaucracy and all that stuff. So it's a simpler process, cleaner process.
Less risk too, with weather and all that. All you need is one good day, one good morning. And we had that with the fog over the bridge too. If you get something cool and something really unique like that on one day, and then you go back to shoot the next day and it's completely different light, completely different weather, it's going to stand out really quickly. So that was really cool too, is we were able to play with that light all over the city.
Yeah, it really produced a lot of unique images and footage that we don't often get in New York. So it was not only great that we got the job done in the right amount of time, but we had the maneuverability to be able to go and get these kind of once in a lifetime shots just because of the fact that we were in a helicopter.
And I think some of that stuff made the final cut too, which is great. It's any of those benefits that we receive are passed on to the client in the end product, which is, it makes all of those that much more fun, that much more rewarding.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I think those shots, that one really wide shot of Empire, and was that triptych that we posted that had Empire and Vanderbilt and one other one? I think that was from that morning too. I think there's so much.
Yeah, that shot of Hell's Gate Bridge and Triborough Bridge, like that kind of misty morning. Yeah, all of that was all from that. The bridge, the Statue of Liberty shots, which are just insane, just because it's that low fog haze hanging over the water and a lot of contrast, and it just kind of gives it this timeless feature where it's black and white. It looks like it could have been taken anytime, even though there's a Freedom Tower in it. But you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, let's talk about the statue a little more too, because that was a huge reason why we're out there and getting that to line up with the church and all of that, which is just another thing that is almost impossible without a helicopter too, and it's the whole reason why we were on that job.
Right. Yeah. Well, that the Statue of Liberty to that area in Jersey City, the Greenville section, it's their monument, right? That they attribute their area to, but it's still a ways away. So you need to use a certain amount of a certain focal length that would show that there is relationship between them. And that's whether or not we're shooting from the church towards the statue or vice versa. It became an element in the project that opens up the audience to a larger scale, because everybody knows the Statue of Liberty. They may not know this little church that we're working on, but instantaneously there is relatability and subjectivity to the project because of the fact that the Statue of Liberty is so close and present in what we were doing. And the lenses that we were using, these longer focal lengths that compress the distance between these two landmarks that we're focusing on, it's very hard, if not undoable at this point with other methods of aerial photography.
What focal length were you at for some of those shots?
I mean, some of those I was at 200 millimeters, handheld. When you have a longer focal length, it shortens the distance between two objects, right? So that's called compression.
Yeah, the city looks like it's right there. I mean, they're close, but not that close, but being able to shoot it like we did really makes the church feel like it's one with the city. And that was a huge message that we were trying to show. We flew around the church with the drone and got some of the establishing shots, showed the local neighborhood. And then with compression, we were able to tell a completely different story with those longer focal lengths and put the city skyline right behind the church. And it looked really cool.
Yeah. And again, like there's something to be said about bringing in a larger audience, right? And that's what those longer focal lengths can do.
I mean, you have so many more tools at your disposal when you can go up in a helicopter like that. You're not just limited to a drone and whatever lenses come on that, and there's all kinds of other regulations that come with that versus the freedom of a helicopter. We didn't even talk about permits either. Back to the saving money, saving time, all of that. There's a lot of projects, especially in New York, but in cities all over the country. There's a lot of projects that make a lot more sense to use a helicopter, and I just think a lot of people don't realize that. Because we're not working with helicopters every day like we are.
Yep.
The shoot here in Chicago at Soldier Field, the fireworks, that was a ton of fun. That was a bucket list item for us for a long time. And a lot of the conversations around us starting this company and this project here with Back Left was around getting a shot like that.
Yeah. It was great. I think it was a ton of fun for us because it was a new city for us as well. And getting to put the expertise of talking to a pilot and working through shot lists and things like that into a new environment was a challenge, but it was also a lot of fun.
Yeah, fun for sure. And the word for that job that we've talked about a lot is patience, kind of focus as well. But we went up with one goal in mind, one shot in mind, and kind of did whatever it took to get that one shot, which was new for us. We're usually trying to make the most out of our time up there. So we were kind of practicing being patient and focused and just waited for those fireworks, and we got them. I think we were both super stoked when it happened.
Yeah, that was an amazing moment, and the payoff was incredible. But yeah, it's really interesting. Like you said, usually we're running around multiple points of interest in a flight, and to be super hyper focused on one place was, like you said, it was new for us, and it was this. Okay, so what can I do in my time that I'm here waiting for this very specific event to happen that we have a general idea, but we're not entirely sure exactly when it's going to happen. But then there's also freedom in that, where you can start to experiment a little bit more, different focal lengths. Okay, so, we are able to watch down on the field what's happening. So like the run of show of this event, and then see, okay, this is happening now. This is happening now. Okay, this is happening. So get ready because it's about to happen. And then, yeah, that like lead up and anxiousness, if you will, or anticipation is probably a better word for it, to that moment where it's like, boom, there it is. We knew it was going to happen. We got it. And yeah, it was really cool.
Since we were just basically, orbiting the same point of interest for 30, 40 minutes, we got to know it really well. And each pass through then, we saw something on the last pass and we're like, oh, let's try this. And we were, every time around, we were like, let's go a little bit higher, let's go a bit lower, let's go a little more south, let's make this loop a little wider. Which, normally we get 1, 2, maybe 3 shots at something, a point of interest at a target on our shot list, just so we can move from place to place. So having the opportunity to just kind of be locked in on one spot really let us, experiment and play a little bit. I think we had a good system. I was doing a lot of the scouting. I was looking, pointing things out. And then that means, by the time it came time for the fireworks and to get the shot, we knew where we had to be, you know, what focal length you wanted to be shooting at, what frame you were looking at, especially being in a new city like that, never having flown there before. It was great to have those kind of practice runs as we kind of locked in and focused up and just waited for the moment. When we started talking about shooting the New York City Marathon, there was a lot that we wanted to get, but there was one shot in particular that we talked about a lot and that we were really excited for. And that was lining up the runners on the bridge with the city in the background.
Yeah, that was definitely, I feel like I had a few shots, but that was definitely one of those shots where I don't know that I had seen a shot like that before, where we were at almost eye level with the deck of the Verrazano Bridge. And then again, using that compression, that long lens. This time I was shooting with a 1:500 lens, and I'd never done that before in a helicopter. I was pretty nervous about that. And so I didn't know what my takeaway percentage was going to be, but we had talked about it. We had visualized it. We had really planned as this is going to be the first shot that we take. We had the group of elite men runners running across the bridge right when we showed up. So we planned that perfectly, the timing aspect, understanding how long it takes to get from place to place, and then showing up and them being exactly where we needed them to be in order for us to get this shot. And even though we made 2 passes at that shot, I think the second one was a better pass because we were able to say, okay, no, we need to be lower. We need this. We need the suspension wires out of the shot. And we were able to construct the shot as we were adapting in real time to fit what our vision was. And that was super cool. It was like instant payoff of like, I have this idea. I'm going to try it. Okay. It was almost there. Now let's make it like there. And that was all within what, 10 minutes?
Yeah. And we use the pros as a kind of as a test. As much as we wanted to shoot the pros, we had a time window, and it kind of made the most sense to use them as the guinea pig. It looked really cool, but it's just such a much more compelling frame when it's just filled with people. And so that was very intentional. We shot a lot of really cool things, but that was one where like I felt it in the moment. Like this is special. This is really cool, especially since we had the idea going in. We knew exactly what we wanted. We were able to get it. You were shooting on a different focal length than I was, so that took a little bit of coordination. But we were able to get the shot, and we went straight to the airport to fly out there that night. But we were working on some of the footage there in the lounge, and I think we both went to that shot first. And it was a really cool feeling to see the payoff right away, to go in with a plan. Yeah. Come back, see the final product, and just both be really, really excited, really happy with what we got.
The cool thing was that like we were doing that shot because it was something that I had on my list. But then I think it was either the second or the third pass, you then saw a shot that you wanted to get that was similar, right? So that it was complementary to my image, and we had to get closer to the bridge. But then there was like motion where you were like, we were below the top deck, so the city was a little bit obscured, and then it was awesome to see you direct that, like, George, I need you to slowly like come up, lift us up, and then like as you're shooting, you're directing this scene, and like hearing you be excited about how it was unfolding.
Can we climb right here?
Yep, climb up.
Yep, just a little bit up.
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
That was like one of those moments where I was like, yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, the movement of the helicopter, it sells it so much more. It makes the shot that much better. If we were just flying alongside the bridge, that was really, really cool. But we wanted that parallax, and that's one of the differences between how I'm looking at scenes and how you are. I'm taking into account that motion, and that's where we go back and forth, and we stayed a little bit lower so you could get yours, and then once you were happy, I knew I wanted kind of that crane rising shot there. That's talk about something you can only do with a helicopter. Maybe a drone, maybe like an Inspire 3, again, the permits and dual operator. There's so much more that goes into it, but like to be going at that speed, at that focal length, to bring the city up against the back of the bridge, and as the camera and the helicopter lift up, and that city kind of stays planted in the background, it's a really cool shot. Definitely, no one on the ground is getting anything like that. So that's why I really wanted to go after something like that.
Yeah. And no one on the ground was getting a lot, like some of the shots that we got where I really pushed the focal length of that like 500 millimeters and like sitting way back on Staten Island. And we knew, okay, this is the last wave. We only have so much more time on our flight. So we need to camp out here. But man, once we got that shot and we came around that 500 focal length where you get like these enormous suspension wires on both sides and these people that are like so small, and there's just 10,000 people running across this bridge. It's definitely the first time that I've shot that focal length. And yeah, the results, I couldn't have been happier about.
I do think it's worth mentioning just like the sheer amount of keepers we got. I can't remember the last time where both of us, from a photo and video perspective, walked away with that many shots that we were really excited about, that we were having to cut, if like for delivering to client or posting on our own. We had too much, and that was something we hadn't experienced yet. I think that's just goes to show the improvements we've made over the last year or two going after a lot of these projects.
Yeah,
but also being smart about the projects that we're going after. And we knew flying for something like this was going to be special versus, maybe a race somewhere else, another big race somewhere else. Like there's something special about that race, New York, that time of the year, the weather and the light we had. Like it was a perfect mix, and we were very intentional about that. And I think that's why we walked away with so many great shots.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I still have shots that I haven't even processed yet. So there's still like a handful of images, so that the fact that we can come away with that many, both planned and then adapted shots, is incredible.
This next one was back at the very beginning of the year, very beginning of 2023, and you actually weren't even there. This was a bit of a test flight for a lot of different reasons, but this was the Winter Classic, NHL Winter Classic, a hockey game at Fenway. Very, very
That's so
iconic.
Cool.
Yeah, very, very iconic stadium. A once in a lifetime event, which is a big part of what we do too, capturing these moments in time in a really unique way. And there was a lot of unknowns going into that, but I think we were both really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, it was, especially not being there and not having the frame of reference to see the output that you had from that flight was amazing. It was really, I think we were both motivated at that point in the year to try and figure out ways to capture these special events, these sporting events in a new and unique way. And it honestly, like it poured gasoline on the fire that was already there once I saw it. So I know it must have been super exciting when you were up there, and I never expected that level of intimacy. And I think that is like that's the fire that really got me even more sold out on the idea than I already was. I was like, oh my gosh, like we can do this. So yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah, and it was really great. I do think it's it's important just for the sake of transparency. I mean, that was fully funded by ourselves. We had this idea, and we didn't know. We thought it would be cool. We shot a lot of other things from a helicopter, but we hadn't shot anything like that. So it was a really last minute idea. We wanted to make it happen. Found a company there that was willing to work with us. Fully done on our own investment to see if these thoughts and these ideas could be as cool as we thought they could. And it definitely tested our ability to plan and our pre-production ahead of time, with you not being there and have never even seen it. A lot different than when we work in New York or some other areas that we're familiar with. This was a first for a lot of things. So a lot of unknowns, but we were able to get some really good stuff, some really great proof of concepts there, learned a lot. Like you said, also got very, very motivated, very excited from, if that's what we were able to capture just from one test flight. Like imagine if we put some time and energy into this, and that's what we've been doing for the last year now. And, I think that this is a project that we'll definitely always look back on. Even though you weren't there, this was kind of, what started it all.
Yeah, but on top of it, it also made you realize that maybe there was a better option for you equipment-wise, which led to more experimentation, which led to us finding a different system in which we felt that it not only made shooting easier for you, but the amount of keepers and length of shots that you were able to get now because of that flight went above and beyond what we, could have anticipated.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like someone had flipped a switch, had turned on a light. It was that different, that impactful.
Yeah, it's really cool to see the growth and adaptation. This year was like a big push for learning as much as we could, so that when we were ready to present to clients, we had an understanding of a complete product, not just like, we like to fly around helicopters and take pictures and videos of stuff. This was like
100%.
now it's polished, and now it's refined and streamlined down to a process that we can duplicate.
The last, kind of big moment for us this year was shooting at Fenway, both sunrise and for opening day. Another time where
that was a big eye opener.
Yeah, we learned a lot. We learned a lot from that one. Maybe didn't walk away with our favorite shots ever, but we learned a ton, and that really guided the next 6-7 months since then, and created a lot of successes on future projects because of that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Boston, what we learned was that to pay attention to how close stadiums are to major airports, right? As far as the opening day ceremonies, as well as dealing with flight restricted areas where airspace is owned by the corporations who are putting on the events. So opening day, we were going to have to be flying over what's called the TFR, total flight restriction. Is that what it stands for? Temporary flight restriction, but it is totally temporary flight restricted area. Yeah.
No, I mean, like you said, distance, but kind of less about distance. Mileage wise, we weren't that. It's not like we were right up next to the airport. I know there's a lot of stadiums that actually are really close to an airport, which is even trickier. But I think if we were right next to the airport, it would have been a lot more obvious, and we probably would have caught it. But we were a little bit of ways, so we thought we were good. But then that put us right in either the departure or the arrival path. I don't remember, and that changes every day. Departure, depending on the winds and what runways they're using and everything. So that was kind of just a little bit of bad luck that we had to be above TFR, so we had to be up around 3,000 feet, and then that put us right in the departure pass, and then we had to go above that. So at the end of the day, I mean, we were almost a mile above. Yeah. And we still got some shots. But yeah, we were a mile up, and you can't get the same type of frames and product that you can when you're 1,000 feet up, where we like to be at, or even lower. Yeah. So huge learning opportunity for us to see what works and doesn't work at that altitude. Not something we ever would have done on our own, but in a way, it's kind of glad that we got to experience that, and now we do everything we can to avoid that.
Yeah. But I think also it allows us a perspective that you only get having lived through it.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of goes back to being intentional about what we say yes to and what we work on, because we want to make sure everyone's happy. It's not a small investment on anyone's part, time, money, everything. There's a lot that goes into all this. So we want to make sure that we can guarantee everyone's going to be happy at the end.
Right. And it's also because we did a sunrise flight the day after, there not being a TFR that we had to fly through, to basically be like a contrasting compare. Here's what we can do when we are limited, versus here's what we can do if we're allowed to be inside that realm that you typically aren't allowed to be inside, and what kind of imagery, and specifically, utilizing the compression.
Yeah. I mean, the one you shot from that morning, and one that we look back on a lot, is getting the iconic Citgo sign in the same frame as Fenway. It's just a local gas station sign there that's well known and recognized, especially by the locals. But people don't realize it's a couple blocks away. So we were able to use compression, use some longer focal lengths, and get them in the same frame and have them both be kind of prominent figures. It was funny, even someone on Twitter ended up going out the next day or the next night or something and put their drone up just to kind of see what we were talking about, and proved it for us. So you go up, put a drone up back where the Citgo sign is, and you have Fenway in the background. I mean, those cameras are at 20, 24 millimeters, whatever. You can hardly even tell that Fenway's back there, because it's a couple blocks and you're super wide. So that was really cool too, to see that come out of all of this, and to see the direct comparison of that and what we're able to do, and the compositions and frames we're kind of able to form up there because of the different focal lengths and the mobility and all of that. It's a very full circle moment, and we're able to prove why we do a lot of things that we do.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely was that. I think that we embarked on some of these shoots this year to use them as proof of concepts for possible clients, but it was also proof of concept for us as we were living through it, right? Where it was like, here's the shoot from 5,000 feet. Now here's the shoot from, 300 feet above the Charles River. And we're using that compression to shrink the distance between the Fenway facade and the Citgo sign. And as the sun is rising over Boston, right, in an early spring day, and it's kind of like, it was definitely an eye-opening moment. But these moments that we have where they were eye-opening moments, they're also like these breaths of relief that like the concept is like, it's true.
Yeah, it's there. We're proving it more and more with each one of these flights. We have a lot of theories in our head that we're testing each time we go out, and it is really rewarding to see it kind of all come together this last year. And that's how 2023 was a huge year for us and for Back Left. I mean, we launched it publicly, this idea that we've had for a while now, and just continuing to keep learning and practicing and growing and
yeah. So are you excited for 2024?
Yeah, I mean, super excited where 2024 could go from all of this. I think there's so much potential here, so much untapped potential, and it's something we really, really believe in. And I'm really excited to see where it goes, for sure.